The Survivor specialists are
I was
back.
going to say that. God, dude. I had it so set up where I was going to say the Survivor specialists, Phil and Will, are back.
That's right.
Will taking it way too seriously because now we're finally calling ourselves a Survivor specialist. He's, doing this from a top secret location. You can barely see it.
Yeah.
I had this all planned, ready to roll, and you jump in on this one. Out of all the ones to jump in on, you ruined this one. The floating head.
The camera was on me, so I had to go. It wasn't up to me. I had no choice. I am in a very remote location right now. It's my only option, my only hope. I'm moving, and this is, you got to scrape right now for internet. You got to scrape right now for seats. It's not easy out here, but here I am. We'll see what happens.
Yeah, but we won't see Will, that's for sure. We'll see what happens, but we will not see Will.
No one wanted to see me anyways.
I know. This is great, dude. You got this whole Wizard of Oz thing going on, the floating head. This is fantastic. There you go. He's on screen now. You got the Exorcist thing going on. This is great. Anyway, we're doing the merge episode here. So let's not let complete darkness take away from the fact that we have an exciting merge episode coming up here of Survivor Kaoh Rong. Man, this could go one of many ways. There's 3 idols in play. There's a lot going on. This preview looks like Jeff's coming in with some guy with a medical kit, and they're saying the game has changed once again. We got this going on and that. But, everybody's in that picture. They did all the pictures. They broke it down, and everybody's there. Nobody looks injured or sick or anything. They're all there.
Yeah, I don't know. It does look like a medical kit. It could also be like a Home Depot or Sears. I guess Sears is out of business now, but it could be a Home Depot challenge reward. I don't know. With the shelter, it could be, honestly, it could be anything. The only way it could be medical, though, is if someone got hurt and then he comes back with that medical kit and something else has happened. I don't know, though. The way Jeff phrases it, it's like the game has changed. Just because someone gets medevaced, that wouldn't be that big of a change. You know what I mean?
Yeah, he normally puts that out there most of the time. When somebody gets medevaced, he makes it, you seem like it influences the game a lot. I don't know, though. I don't know if he would word it that way. I think you're right about that, but it's a weird thing to throw into this. It's the merge episode. You don't really need any extra tease other than it's the merge. That's enough.
But if it's there, they're gonna use it because it is there. I'm looking at the photo right now. It's Jeff standing with the guy. It's this big red suitcase. We have Ty, Debbie, Neil, Aubrey, and Nick in the photo. And then I don't know. I don't see the photo where everyone's there. That's all I see.
Somebody posted it on Sucks because they always do it where when the big preview comes out, that's where I normally find it. And somebody posted it on Sucks and somebody was like, "Oh, Sydney's not in it." And then there was a side picture and all of them are there. So they are all there. I did look at it. I don't have the picture handy, but they are all there.
Could it be a family visit thing? Something to do with that? Is that possible?
I don't know. I have no idea. I don't think they do that at the merge.
Okay. Either way, let's get into our power rankings here. This is a pretty weird circumstance where I am right now, but like you said, it is the merge, and I wouldn't be doing this if it weren't for the merge episode, especially on a season that's been so good. So I'll start it off here. Number 1, I got Kyle Jason. He's got the idol. We didn't hear anything from him last week, so you would think if the next week, this week is his merge, his boot episode. We're going to hear something from him the episode before. He's too big of a character. He's too big of a villain. He has the idol. Again, there are only 3 Braun people left. They're going to be fighting for numbers, although the preview does suggest otherwise with Beauty looking like they're going to be in the middle. But I like Kyle for this. He's too big of a person to go home right now. Could he get blindsided with the idol in his pocket and be a crazy merge boot? Absolutely. But I have to go with those idol chances.
See, I got Kyle as my eliminator pick, but I don't have him at the top. I don't think he's somebody who gets voted out with an idol in his pocket, and it seems like he's just going to play so aggressively. He'd almost pull a Russell, where when Russell wasted one, and whatever that was, Heroes vs. Villains, I guess, where he wasted one, and it's I could see Kyle doing that. I don't see him getting voted out with one in his pocket. But at my number 1, I'm going right back to where I started from when I was telling everybody I was going to, number 1 all the way to the end, and then they're going to win the game. I'm putting Michelle back at 1. Last week I had her down way deeper. this is a merge now. The beauties seem like they might be the swing votes here. And there is no reason. I mean, my number 2 is Julia, because there's no reason to vote out either Michelle or Julia. Nobody's looking at them as big threats. Neither one has idols. Nobody thinks that they have idols. Ty's a bigger threat. Nick is a bigger threat because he's stronger. You know, you got the whole Braun tribe, which is a big threat, and the Brain tribe. Michelle and Julia, not threats at all right now. And I think that they position themselves where they're in the middle of these alliances or whatever the hell's going to happen. I like where they're both at. So I got Michelle 1, Julia 2.
Yeah, I have Julia at 2, just because I think Michelle is way more threatening, and I think Michelle has been exposed to more people. She was, on the original Beauty tribe, and then she was with that tribe that didn't go to tribal council once. So it's like everyone kind of has an idea of Michelle, and I think people are starting to realize she is smart. She is threatening, so I have her a little bit lower. But I do have Julia at number 2. There's just no reason to get her out. She's not a challenge threat. I don't think she's that big of a social threat. She's kind of a player. You kind of look at her and you see where she's at. She's going to stick with her alliance, and most people probably think she's being led around by Michelle, that she's kind of going to ride coattails. So why waste a big vote at the merge when you really need to take numbers and be aggressive? So I like Julia's chances to make it through here.
And it's not even like she's like right now I could see Joe going home this week, because even though he's not threatening and nobody really thinks he's going to win the game, he still is like in a position where like the numbers could sway and you could need to get rid of somebody like Joe because you're worried about an idol. Julie doesn't fit in this position anymore because I don't think anybody's going to be going for the beauties. I think people are going to go for the brains, or they're going to go for the bronze, or they're going to go for Nick. They're not going to go for Michelle or Julia, really, no matter what. I don't think anybody's worried about Nick having an idol. I don't think anybody we haven't really gotten too much about what people think about Nick until last week when we got a lot from Debbie. But I don't think people are really looking at Nick as like a serious threat right now. I think they're almost looking at him as more of like a joke, to be honest.
Right. Yeah, I totally see that.
So my number 3, I got Kyle at 3. He's got we already talked about that. He's got the idol. He's going to be the villain for a little bit, I think. I don't think he goes here. You got to throw geeks in lockers, man.
Yeah, that's true. That's a great confessional. I mean, it's like we had Brains, Brawn, Beauty before, and I can't believe like jocks, nerds, and like the hot chick, like how that didn't come up in the first time of this theme. Surprised that it didn't come up. So I'm glad Jason got that going. At number 3, I have Ty. If the beauties are like the swing votes and they're up for grabs, then pretty much all of them should be safe. I mean, you have Michelle at 1, Julie at 2. Ty has an idol, so he's a beauty and he has an idol. It's like 2 things going from him. It also seems like he shakes Debbie's hand in the preview. He seems to be good with the beauty people, obviously. He seems to be good with Scott. So there's a lot of ways that Ty can go. I think he can maneuver this pretty well. And the only thing that really worries me is that he's said so many times, I don't want to be voted out with an idol in my pocket. Like that could be building up to this huge merge boot. I hope that's not the case. I like Ty. He's good TV. So I like him at number 3.
I have him at 4. The only reason I have him at 4 is because he's already proven to be a little, he's not aggressive with playing the idol. Scott was able to talk him out of it once. And really, if Scott's like, oh, man, we got to get rid of this guy, like if somehow the Bronze convinced Scott, we got to get rid of this guy, Scott's already been able to convince Ty once not to play his idol. He could easily convince him again, I think. And there he goes. Like he gets voted out that way. But I still have him at 4. I don't think he's really in trouble this week. I don't think that him getting voted out with an idol in his pocket would happen until later.
Yeah. No, I hear you. And, I'm just going to roll with this idol thing. I mean, the only person I don't have, having an idol in my top 4 is Julia. At number 4, I have Neil. I think that the brains, they're kind of all over the place. And if they can't get together, I think, sure, maybe you would target Neil, but he's going to see that coming. I think these lines are going to be pretty clear cut where the beauties are in the middle, or else they wouldn't have put it in the preview. They wouldn't really have. See, it sounds like there's 2 people having a confessional about it. It's not like this big red herring. It's like beauty is going to be the swing votes, which at first might not make the most sense because we have only 3 brawn left, and then it's even with the brains and the beauty. But either way, it's going to be 7 against 4. So it's not going to be that crazy that these beauties are in the middle. So I like Neil just because if they know they don't have the numbers, or he feels a little bit worried, it's like he's not going to. I don't think he's going to risk it. He'll play his idol. So at 4, I got Neil.
And he knows that. Yeah, I got Neil at 5 because I think he knows that out of all the brains left, he's probably the most threatening. I mean, you can make the argument for Debbie, but I don't think people are looking at Debbie as like both physical, social, and strategic threat. I think they would look at Neil as that. And I think Neil realizes that he would be the most threatening. He's more threatening than Aubrey. He's more threatening than Joe. I think people view him as more threatening than Debbie. And I think he's smart enough to be like, well, screw this. I'm playing my idol because I'm not going home with this. So I do think that if it comes to where Neil's going to be the one who gets the votes, he's going to end up playing his idol and a different Brain would go home. Or they somehow get a Braun. I mean, they could get a Braun easily if Kyle were to play. Let's say Neil plays his idol, then Kyle, and they don't vote for Kyle. Yeah, then a Braun could go home easily, or even a Beauty could go home easily. But, it kind of depends here.
Yeah, I mean, I just coming into this merge, I thought it was going to be chaos. We've talked about how, all over the place and random this season is. So you'd think it'd be just all into the air. It doesn't seem like that's the case. And, of course, the preview could be throwing us off. But it's like if there are these clear lines where it's like literally, Brains versus Braun, Beauty in the middle, I think that makes idol playing just easier all across the board. These people with idols, they will play them because it's not like, man, maybe Scott's going to go with the Beauty, maybe he'll go with the Braun, or maybe, Ty can go this way and separate from Julia and Michelle. It's like it looks like it's going to be kind of more easier to read. So at least I hope so, because that'd make my power rankings a lot better. At number 5, I have Michelle, just because I think she is the most threatening Beauty besides Nick. Nick has that physical strength. He showed that in the challenge last week. He went toe-to-toe with Scott, the NBA player, in the basketball challenge. So it's kind of on his radar. And he's annoying to live with. So I think that could still play a role. I know we are into the merge where you want to vote more strategically and not based it on camp life. But we still have to get to day 39. So I still worry for Nick. So I got Michelle at number 5.
Yeah, I hear everything you're saying about Michelle. And I do fear for Nick a lot this week. Just because I almost feel like he could end up being like the Sarah, where he tries to play both sides too much. And it already seemed like Michelle wasn't really big on Nick at all. She was just kind of stuck with him. So I could see him almost like playing both sides too much and he gets voted out.
That could easily happen. The only difference there is that Sarah was such a strong player. People thought she was getting the winners at it. She was looking really good. Nick is complete buffoon. You would think most of the time the merge edit is a pretty big boot, and Nick going, I don't know. It's almost like it wouldn't be worthy enough for this season so far because it has been so good. I kind of want someone big to go home. It likely won't happen because, Ty has an idol. Kyle has an idol. Debbie's been on such a hot streak, but yeah, you never know. I don't have Nick at the bottom, but we'll get down there.
Yeah, I think that Nick could definitely, you say you want somebody big to go home, but I think this is a season where like the big and the small, other than really Ty and Debbie, those are like your two huge characters, and everybody else is kind of like, yeah, Kyle's a little bit ahead of the curve, Scott's a little bit ahead of it, but like there's really not much separation between top and bottom after Ty and Debbie. So unless it's Ty or Debbie that goes this week, it's not going to be a huge character that goes at the merge boot. It's just not going to happen.
Right. Right.
So at 6, I have Scott. I think Scott's going to try to work with the Beauties really, really like a lot here. I think him and Ty really did bond. I think he's going to go right back to Jason and Sydney. So I think that's going to be a group of 4 right there. Probably try to bring in Michelle and Julia, and then I think there's your 6-5. They don't even need to bring in Nick, and that's why I kind of fear for Nick this week. But I think Scott's all right. He's huge. It's hard for him to hide, but he knows where all the idols are, and I think that he would I don't think that people are going to gun for Scott first because I don't think they see him as somebody who can win just because of his whole NBA background.
Yeah, I don't think that's why they'll get rid of him. He has been proven to be really good at challenges. And I know we have professional athletes come in, and they're so skilled at one position, they're not that good. But Scott is good. Like, he's a big challenge threat. And, like I've said, I thought it was going to be more of a toss bag, and I would really, think, hey, the Bronze have a good chance here. There's only 3 of them. They can be swing votes. But if the Beauty are the swing votes and somehow Brains, they pull the Beauties in, Scott's the perfect target. Because I think you worry about Kyle having idol. He is such an aggressive player that you think, man, who's going to look for an idol out of those 3? It's going to be Kyle. Let's vote Scott. Physical threat. He's also becoming a social threat. I mean, it looks like he has ties to the people, Aubrey and Joe from that post-swap tribe, that yellow tribe, and then Ty as well. So I worry about Scott a little bit. At 6, I have Aubrey, just because I think we've seen more and more of Aubrey. The vote was pretty much up to her last week, and unless that was the whole entire, this is Aubrey's downfall. She voted the wrong way, which I don't think it was, because Peter was made out to be such an asshole. So I mean, like, Peter was next level. I think Aubrey, I think she is deep for this game, and if somehow the Braun do pull in Beauty and they have the numbers, who are they targeting? I don't think Aubrey is their first target. I think Joe is probably their first target. And that might sound crazy, yes, because he hasn't gotten a big edit, but you kind of look at it like Kelly Wigglesworth in last season, where her boot episode, everyone all of a sudden said she's the biggest threat. Like she's the scariest person to go up against in Final Tribal. We didn't think that at all. It could be a situation like that where Joe is the old guy that everyone gets along with and likes, and we're just not seeing it.
It's true. No, that definitely could be the case. I mean, I fear for Aubrey just because if Neil does play an idol and then somebody like Kaoh plays an idol, I could see them just getting all out because they look at her as like a strategic person, even though she's not physically maybe the strongest, but I do think that they can look at her as strategic. At 7, I have Sydney. I think Sydney could be in trouble here because I think she's the least likely for the brains to looked for an idol. I think that they would think Scott or Kyle has an idol first, and if they're trying to play it safe, they might just throw their votes on Sydney. One thing we completely did not mention last week in our recap episode, that moment between Debbie, Sydney, and Michelle when Michelle was like walking out into the lake, and Debbie just like looked back and was like, "One of you better stop her. She's probably gonna go drown herself." And then like action to that, I thought that was like so funny, and we didn't say anything about that at all, but that was like a really Sydney and Debbie, like, I don't know if they actually hit it off or if that was just like that one moment, but like Sydney was completely amused by that. And like Debbie, like clearly was comfortable enough to say that, even though she's comfortable enough to say anything. But I don't really fear so. I just worry that she would be the one that these people will look at and no chance she has an idol. Let's just get rid of her.
Yeah, suicide is immensely funny and hilarious. Thanks for bringing that up, Phil. Real classy.
Oh, come on, dude. That was such a funny moment.
No,
the way that Sydney reacted to Debbie, just going, "Come on, Debbie!" Like, oh God, that whatever. Because Debbie says it like she's not saying anything wrong or weird. That's what makes it so fun.
No, I agree. I'm just giving you a hard time. I totally agree with you about Sydney. I was going to have her so much higher in this list, but she is a Braun, so it sounds like she will be on that. One of the two sides that goes home, and she's like honestly, it's like. You were saying this the other week on the podcast that like there are a few people who have gotten a confessional every week. Sydney was one of them. Why is this happening? She hasn't been that big of a character, but they're just sprinkling her in. And maybe it is because she is this merge boot that is pretty likable that just catches an off vote with the numbers shakeout. It's almost Kelly Remington vote in Worlds Apart. How that just we never saw her going, but the votes kind of fell her way. And like you're saying, Scott and Kyle, like very likely to have idols. Sydney, probably not as much. And she's proved herself to be a social threat. I do think Sydney and Debbie, though, do have a bond. We did see that scene where they got along really well. I don't think it was last episode. It was the week before. But I do worry about Sydney at least a little bit.
Yeah. So who do you have at 7?
I have Scott at 7. Okay. I think he, not in the best position, but there's only 11 people left here. I mean, 7 is not that good. He's not one of my main people I think could go home, but it would shock me at all. Because if you're thinking merge boot this season, it's like we don't think it's going to be Debbie. We don't think it's going to be Ty or Kyle. But I mean, neither of us has said Debbie, but I still don't think it's going to be her. But Scott, I don't know. If I'm out there, I want Scott gone for sure.
Yeah, I have Debbie at 8, and she's the one I fear the most out of a big character. And the only reason I have her this low is because normally, like you said, a big character does go home merge time. And the only other people I would consider a big character on the season are Kyle. So I would really be shocked if they went. That's why I have Debbie all the way down at 8, even though I think she's gotten a fantastic edit, and I wouldn't be surprised if she wins this whole thing. But I could also just see her being the merge boot, a really likable merge boot who didn't really have a chance. Like once the merge hit, she just couldn't angle her way in.
Right. And we haven't really talked about this. I mean, we've talked about it a bunch, but the question, like, we have Beauty in the middle between Braun and Brains. Who do you think Beauty goes to?
I think they go to Braun because of Scott and Ty's relationship. And,
I do too.
And I mean, I know Michelle was close with Debbie, but I think, I don't know. It seemed like Michelle was getting close with Debbie, but then at the same time, it also seemed like I don't really. The Nick was kind of close with Debbie, but then Nick wanted to vote against that. I really don't know, but I'm leaning more towards Braun just because there's less of them, and if the Beauties are smart, they could outnumber Braun 4-3 when they get down to 7.
Yeah, I'm totally feeling Braun. There are so many reasons. Like you were saying, it seemed Nick was leaning the way of Braun, like he was going to roll with Kyle. So maybe they have a better relationship than we saw. They never went to tribal, so we didn't get to see that much of them. And then, like you're saying, Ty. And if you just look at the threat level of, I mean, we have Michelle and Julia, who, just a first glance, and you have 11 people left in the game. It's really early merge time. Those aren't people you're really looking at. Like we can't let them get far. But when you look at someone like, the old quirky lady like Debbie, or the FBI agent who's 73 or whatever, you look at those people and you go, wow, those are threats. You look at Neil, who seems to be really likable, who's obviously a brain, a successful business person. I just think the brains have just a lot stacked against them, not only being the brain tribe and having that label, but just, who the people are individually. They're just bigger threats. So I think Braun does successfully pull Beauty in.
So who do you have at 8 then?
At 8, I have Sydney. I don't think Sydney goes, but man, if a Braun is going to go, you got to think it's going to be Sydney. We've kind of talked about her a lot, so I don't need to go into many more detail. At 9, I have Debbie, just because this really it would explain her kind of, because she has had an arc, right? Like she started off as kind of the annoying, talkative person, but has been in total control ever since, having great confessionals, explaining everything. If she gets there and they build her up as this threat, it's perfect story arc to bring her back. Like, look, she got to the merge and was the biggest threat out there. That screams returning season. So that could be her edit. I hope it's not, because I am really enjoying Debbie a lot.
Yeah, no, I agree. I like Debbie a lot too. I have Joe at 9. I don't think that he's going to be their primary target, but I think that he's like another safe vote, almost like Sydney was. I have Aubrey at 10, and then I actually have Nick at 11. Because I wouldn't be surprised if Nick plays his way out of this game. He's gotten a strong edit the last 2, and now all of a sudden, like, I wouldn't be surprised if he just plays his way out of the game.
Wait, the last 2? I think it's only been the last episode.
Was it just the last episode? I think he might have said a little bit in the one before that, but like last episode was the one. So
yeah, last episode was the big one. That's like my highest indicator. I have Joe at 10, Nick at 11. So I mean, I guess I can go through these here, and then maybe start getting into comments. Joe, he's just that likable guy. You know what I'm talking about? Like the guy that, and we made comparisons to Rudy. Phil is gone. So I'm gonna have to do a filibuster in the dark by myself. But think about it, if you're out there and you're looking at Joe, and again, like I said, you probably aren't, as a fan or as a viewer of the show, you're not looking at him as someone who can win. But when you're out there, he's absolutely someone that could win. You're not seeing how many confessionals each person is getting and all that. And then Nick, it mainly has to do with my correction of Phil. I just corrected him for saying a big edit the last 2 episodes. I really think it was the last one. He really got a lot last week, and that could be setting up his downfall. We say that often, that you're kind of invisible for most of the show. They have to build you a little bit up before your boot episode, before your story. So those are our power rankings. I'll get into comments here. Remember to keep commenting on these videos. Twitter tweeted us at Phil_and_Will. That's our Twitter account. And on these YouTube videos, let me bring some up here and we'll get started. I guess Phil just decided to ditch me. So, yeah, I'm moving in like 3 days. So that's why there's no internet. It's tough to find a spot. So kind of explaining, Phil, I'm explaining the situation with darkness, which I think adds a new element to the podcast. I don't know if anyone has ever podcasted in the dark before.
I don't know, man. I think I've heard a couple cars go by behind you to give like hints to where you are. You should. Where in the world is Will?
You guys have to guess. I'm like hiding. I'm hiding, and people keep yelling, "Shut!" Yeah. People are yelling, "Shut up!" I hate that show. What are you talking about?
So did you have Nick at 11 as well?
Yeah, I did. I had Nick at 11.
Who's your eliminator pick?
Oh, man, I always forget to eliminate her, pretty much because I already got eliminated from it by picking Jenny in episode 2. I guess I don't even know who I have left. Maybe I will go. Have I done Julia yet?
No.
I'll go Julia. I like Julia this week. So
I'm going Kyle. So I think those are two solid ones. I'm not worried about either of them. One, because Kyle's the idol. Julia's so unthreatening.
I hope you lose so badly because I need to win twice in a row essentially to catch up to Phil. All right, I have the YouTube comments up. Yeah. We'll just go through these, the ones that are on this video. Then we can go to our old recap. No, just because I have these up.
Oh, okay.
It was easier to click on, and I did the filibuster. So, Zach Abrams. Other than maybe Neil, I do not see a male winning this season. I completely agree. I said this last week with Debbie. Not only saying it last episode, but they replayed it in the Previously on Survivor, which is a huge. I mean, if you want to look at editing, I think the Previously on Survivor is something really to look at. Do you agree, Phil?
Yeah, no, I agree. That's normally foreshadows heavily like who's an important player in the storyline because they're making sure you remember their storyline. That's always a big thing.
Right, and if they include foreshadowing, they want you to like remember the foreshadowing and prove how smart they are and how good they are at editing. So we have Harold Rice. I tried your dating tips and they worked. Want to hear more? ? So is he offering tips to us or is he just phrasing that badly? I'm not sure. Again, with the dating tips, they just come naturally. They're not something you can request. So I don't know.
Well, he's not requesting them. He's just happy that they worked. He's proud of us.
Right, but he's
proud of us that it worked for him.
But it says want to hear more.
I think he wants to know. ?
Yeah,
but it's a question mark. He's saying, do you want to hear how it worked? That's pretty much what he's saying.
Oh, I thought you said about more tips. Maybe I'd like to hear. If you want to, share it in the comment section, I think maybe other people would like to hear. I'm not sure which tip. We've offered so many at this point. It really could be, a lot of things happening. So we have Angus J here. Based on the preview, I think it might be possible that there's a medical evacuation. Thoughts? That's still lingering over our heads, a medical evacuation. I didn't really think about that when making our rankings. We do have that random guy coming up with a red box that looks like a medical kit. I don't know, though. I mean, could it be Joe with that finger that they set up, I think, a couple episodes
ago? Or his head. He got cracked in the head last week. I mean, that's why I have Joe so low. That's like another reason at number 9, because if there is a medevac, I think it's just got to be Joe. He got cracked in the head. They talked, Liz made her comment early on. They talked about his finger. Like, there's a lot going on with Joe's body, and he's 72 years old. It would just make sense.
It does make sense. And if they include Liz's comment, then Joe is 100% getting medevac. If that's in Previously on Survivor, like, after a brutal season, and then they show a bunch of injuries and, like, Caleb in the stretcher and all that, and then they have Liz saying Joe might get medevac. Like, if they throw that in there, he's definitely gone.
Yeah. No, I kind of agree. I mean, I think that's spot on.
And then we have Gus Schultz here. Why you in the dark, bro? I think I already answered that. I don't know what else to say. It's a guessing game at this point. You guys can take a guess as to where I am. It's probably not that hard to guess, but it is the dark. Zachary Valentine. Will, are you ready for the Walking Dead finale? Any guesses on who dies? I am actually not caught up. I'm about 3 or 4 episodes behind. But it has been good. The second part of the season has been really good. I used to write feature. I still supposed to be writing features, but I have been with the move, with work, with Survivor being as good as it is. Haven't really had time to catch up on The Walking Dead. I hope to do that soon because it has been pretty good this season. Tori Crossgrove. I am 50 minutes late, so you might answer this, but who do you want to win, and who are your top 3 picks to win? Who do I want to win? Michelle, right?
No, I honestly, I mean, I talk up Michelle like as much as I do because she's my winner pick, and that's why I wanted to win. I really want Ty to win. I think that would be the best storyline for the season is if Ty wins. I think that would be great. He's been great.
I kind of want Debbie.
Okay.
Debbie or Kyle. Like, I would love to see either of those two win. Anybody else? Neil would be a bit boring. I'm trying to think of who else. I don't know. I kind of like Kyle and Debbie.
I honestly think that it's going to be one of the girls. I think it's going to be Michelle, Julia, or Aubrey because I think Debbie's just too over the top to win this. Or Sydney, obviously Sydney. I mean, I had said to you maybe we should do like the whole breakdown like we did back in Second Chances where we did like the 3-3-3-3. In terms of the 3 people that I think really can win this right now, I would say that the top 3 are Michelle, Sydney, and Debbie, even though I just said that I think Debbie is way too much of a like he's too over the top, but like if we've seen these like Tony a couple seasons ago, we never seen anybody like him win before, and they never stopped with his edit. He was constant wins, and that could be what they're doing with Debbie. She could just be like the girl version of Tony, And then I think Michelle and Sydney, because they keep playing up this whole girl's going to win thing. And the two of them have gotten consistent edits that seem to be peaking a little bit now. You know, instead of going down, they're kind of going up. I wouldn't be shocked. I mean, I'd be a little shocked at Julia just because she's got so little screen time. I think that whoever said it earlier hit it on the head. Neil is the only guy who really can win.
Yeah, I still think Kyle maybe could. I don't think he's been as villainous as people make him out to be. And villains do win this game. I mean, you look at Hatch, you look at Tony, you look at Brian, you look at Chris. I mean, I don't know if Chris was a villain, but those other three were. They do end up sometimes pulling these things out. I don't think we should do the whole 3-3-3 thing yet, just because there are 11 people left. Why don't we save that for 9 people? Or maybe
I was just thinking now because it is still so up in the air, and we just hit the merge, and like in 2 episodes, you know, Survivor can totally screw up an edit in 2 episodes. We've seen it happen before, where you sit there and you're like, oh, Josh or Jeremy's going to win this game, and as soon as Josh and Jeremy get voted out, it's like, well, Natalie won, you know, and that was from I think 11 to 9.
Yeah, that's very true.
We can wait. It doesn't matter. We can wait.
It just depends how many comments. You know, we want to get to everyone's comments and give them their due. We have Tori Crossgrove here again. Where do you see these special Survivors? SurvivorFever.net is the place to go for like press photos, previews. They usually link the video. If not, if they don't have an official video link, they'll do screen captures and have like a transcription of the wording and everything like that. So we usually check those out before we do our predictions podcast.
And there's like no fear of spoilers on there.
Yeah,
nice.
they don't spoil it. It's all official news related things. We have Henry Alford. The only person who isn't shown during Just Visit is Ty. So if it's evacuation, then Ty might be done. I see Ty though. I think Ty is there. And Phil said like he saw a picture. Yeah, where everyone's there. He says, I also think Nick is in trouble. Scott, Ty, and Julia will stick together and bring Sydney and Jason. Nick will think he's the swing vote, but Michelle will join Scott's group and take Nick out. That's very likely. I think that's why we both have Nick pretty low. He thinks he's going to be in the middle, and then both sides or one side looks, okay, he's flipping, he's flopping. Let's just take him out. We'll still have the numbers. So that's a very likely way for it to go. Phil, you want to hit up Twitter, see what we got?
Yeah, let's hit up Twitter. I don't remember where I left off, so I'll just start with Rinja Sharma here. I'm sure Scott is going to spill Ty's little secret about the idol to Jason. I'm hoping the merge will be crazier than Cagayan. I don't see it being crazier than Cagayan. I don't think Scott spills Ty's secret yet, but I wouldn't be surprised if he does it eventually.
Yeah, maybe. I mean, I think he really, really trusts Scott.
But I think he really, really likes – I think that Kyle. Scott – yeah, but I think Scott really likes being the only one who knows where they're both at. I think he really likes that.
Yeah, we talk about this a lot. I always love the thinking that when you're out there and you have nothing to do, that you just end up convincing yourself. You just rationalize it to the point where, like, okay, it's the best move for me to tell someone. I need to tell someone. I need to prove to people that I'm playing, like, all this stuff. I wouldn't be shocked at all if he tells Kyle. Like this episode.
Okay. Yeah. Yeah, it could happen. I mean, who knows? Anything, right? Revenge of Sharma again. I don't think there was a season since Heroes vs. Villain, which was so entertaining right from episode 1 through the merge. Is it going to suck post-merge? I sure as hell hope not. But who knows?
There is a chance. There's a chance that this thing takes a bad spiral downhill. Yeah, I hope not either. You would think, though, these pre-merge boots, we've talked about, these pre-merge boots haven't been that exciting, but the editing has been so good. That's what's made this season, at least for me. Like, we have a good cast. We have good characters. The votes have been nothing special. I don't think we've seen anything that crazy. I mean, any first-time evers, I mean, I think we have Jenny standing up, but that isn't that absurd. She already knew she was going, and then we have Aubrey with the cross-out vote. That was kind of fun. Besides that, it's like not the craziest thing, but we've enjoyed it thoroughly. So I think we have to let the editors, give them credit. I think they can keep it up.
I think so too. And I think like what I'm more impressed with is there weren't really any crazy vote outs, but I think I said this on the recap episode. What I'm more impressed with is the people we have left. There's a lot of people I never thought would have made it this far. Jason, Debbie, Ty, Joe. I mean, Jason obviously had the best chance, but if he's going to come out and be that much of a villain, he could have gone. I mean, his tribe went to tribal so many times. But then, like, somebody like Ty, Debbie, Joe, Aubrey, like, I thought the Brains were going to get dismantled at the beginning of this. They looked like the weakest tribe, all that. Debbie, Joe, and Aubrey instantly should have had targets on their back. We both thought Aubrey was going to be the first boot. Somebody like Ty had to fit in, had to be on a tribe that never went to tribal. I mean, it's pretty crazy what's left more than like it's crazy like, than the votes have been crazy. And it makes it more entertaining because you really don't know like anything going into this, which is fun.
It's very fun. It's where I like to be. I say it every time. Give me more tribals where I don't know who's going home, and I'm a happy Survivor fan. I think that's what makes the season good. Obviously, you have to have a solid cast, good characters throughout, good moments throughout. But when you get down to the voting, the most dramatic part of the show, in my opinion, it's great for it to be up in the air until Jeff, reads that last vote.
Yeah, I agree. Well, I never realized. I think Peter Rubenstein has like 2 Twitter accounts, and like one of them is his angry alter ego, and the other one is like his happy alter ego. I'm not sure though, because I noticed that like he's got the same numbers. One of them, the real name is Chef. The other one's @Chef. So, but either way, so this is Madness related. We got Chef saying Miami sucks, then Elite 8 boy, and then you mad bro? What did I tell you about Q's? And I said congrats because they went to the Final Four, and he says appreciate it, bros. And then we just got one today that was like, continue to hate on Cuse boys, women and men in Final Four, best school in the country. We can wear flip-flops to class too. I don't know if I hated on Cuse. I just thought that they should have at least had to play in the first 4, and I didn't think they had a chance against Michigan State, which they didn't have to. It just goes to show that the ACC is the best conference in basketball. So, like, I'm totally happy Cuse made it this far because this just means that the ACC, like, is that good from top team in the ACC, and they're in the Final Four.
Yeah. I think, Cuse is a good team. I think the way they won that game, they just ran it.
That was amazing.
They just ran it up and down the court. Everyone talks about their zone, and like it's just pretty much a zone. I don't think that they play it well, but I think they have a better team than most people think. I give them congrats too. But let's get back on Survivor. I mean, March Madness has been great. No, I agree. Yeah. I agree. Peter Rubenstein's a big fan, so give him his due.
Yeah. And what they did, that was amazing. And this is what makes it fun, though. It's those storylines. It's the underdog storylines. That's like what you want to see in the tournament. It's the tie, exactly. Although Syracuse is the worst tie ever. They're no VCU or Dayton or George Mason. They're the worst tie. But they're like Mike when Mike was the underdog.
There you go. Perfect analogy.
They're still a power conference team. Yeah. All right, Johnny Burtek. I got a feeling at Tribal, Neil and Ty both play idols, and somebody like Debbie ends up going home. I don't see Ty playing his idol this week because I don't think Ty's going to get any votes this week.
Yeah, I don't think there's going to be 2 idols played. Like I said, if it is really this cut and dry, there's no reason for someone in the middle to play their idol, if like Ty, if he really is in the middle. And then whoever side thinks they have the numbers, I doubt they both do when you're dealing with 4 people in the middle. Like, you're going to be able to figure it out. We hear these exit interviews all the time, like body language, people looking at you, they're avoiding eye contact, all these things add up that I have a feeling there'll be maybe 1 idol played, but to have 2 or more, I don't think that's likely.
Yeah. Johnny Burtek again. Am I the only one winner pick? The editing makes it look like she wins. My problem with Julia's editing is she only has 6 confessionals all season. And yeah, she's only had 2 episodes without a confessional, but like I sent you the thing, Will. A really evenly edited season now. But like still, Julia has 6 confessionals, Ty has 25. Like that's a huge gap. And like somebody like Michelle, who's kind of been in the same storyline as Julia, has 13 confessionals and Julia only has 6. So like that's why I don't really think Julia is gonna win this. She hasn't done anything like she hasn't had like too much input like strategically or on this season. It's just kind of been like she's getting like little tidbits, but just to do it.
Yeah, but weren't you saying, I think maybe it was 1 podcast ago or 2, that it's going to be almost like Sandra and Hero vs. Villains, where they have these big characters pre-merge. They have to show them. They really are dominating. The votes are revolving around them. Camp life's revolving around them. They go, and then someone kind of swoops in for the kill, and someone that's just kind of been sprinkled throughout. And I think Julia is a prime example that this could really happen to her. Sydney is another good one. Someone like Aubrey is another good one. Characters like that where maybe Natalie Anderson comparable. Like they weren't dominant, but you can see why they won the game. Throughout, she had that one part where she went to Braun camp on her own. Not that that's huge, but it is something where she is individually doing something that no one else is. So I think Julia is certainly in the mix here.
No, she could totally win. I'm just saying. Yeah, I'm just saying this is probably why Johnny Burtek's the only one who has her as a winner pick, or feels like he's the only one who has her winner pick right now, just because, we haven't seen as much of her as anybody else on the entire show, and that's just a fact more than anything. But yeah, she could totally just turn it on and win, no doubt. Larry Miller, my prediction is that Ty gets evacuated. I feel like that's becoming like a popular thing, but I think that's just because people didn't see him in the one picture.
Maybe someone knows
I don't
something.
think Ty gets evacuated.
I don't know. Maybe somebody knows something. I haven't even seen this picture where he's not in it. The only one I have seen is with him in it. So I don't know. It's kind of scaring me now.
I don't think he is. Chef, this one's for you, Will. How are you going to watch this week now that you're Amish?
That's actually going to be very tough. Like, my move out date is Wednesday. It's going to be real tough. So, I make it work though. You've seen me with my battery dying and my charger not working in my Tahoe house. You've seen me running around, seeing me out here in the dark, grinding, putting out good Survivor talk. We got the merge. It's dedication. So, the only time it didn't work out was really Thanksgiving, and on my birthday. Those were like Thanksgiving and my birthday. Those are two important holidays. So, but I tried at least on one of those occasions.
Yes, and it was Thanksgiving. Anyway, Mel, who do you think benefits the most from the merge? I think Kyle and Sydney, because I think Kyle and Sydney could have been in a lot of trouble on that tribe.
Yeah, this merge doesn't seem. I mean, I guess you could say Aubrey and Joe as well.
Aubrey, yeah.
Just because they likely weren't in the numbers, though Scott could easily have flipped just because he seems like someone who would do that. But yeah, it's got to be those people. I think no one was in that terrible spot because we never saw that one tribe go to tribal council, and then that I know we're saying Joe and Aubrey, that could have gone a lot of ways because like we were saying, a beauty went, then like almost a brain has to go. And it's like, okay, now we have to get a beauty out again. Like, who has the most power in this season is fluctuating, and that's contributing to why people are getting voted off.
Yeah. And I think that really came down to more Peter. People just want to Peter out more than anything because Peter's just annoying,
Right.
Star 88, have you guys met in person and watched Survivor? I don't think we've ever watched Survivor together in person numerous times. Sadly. We hang out.
Yeah, no, I've never watched Survivor with Phil, which is crazy.
I don't think we would get along during it. I think that we would annoy each other during it, though. I got my ritual. I got like the candles lit and everything around the room. I don't know if you can handle that.
Are they like tribal candles? Like they're torches?
No. I like pretty much like create like a cultish feeling. You know what I mean?
Not a tribal council setting. Candles.
No. Okay. No. I want it to be like creepy. I got like a choir in the background that just moans the whole. It's great.
Well, maybe one day we'll watch it live together and then do a Survivor Specialist live, like Rob does, and we'll rent out a huge comedy club in New York City. Yeah, let's do it, dude.
But we'll fly to New York to do this. Why do it in LA when we can fly to New York to do it, right?
Yeah, because we have so many fans, it would sell out instantly.
I think so. We could sell it. 88. I think this is the last one on Twitter. I think Michelle is surely the favorite. I don't know about Shirley. She got all those confessionals after screwing up the challenge, #redemption arc. I think that's a good point. That's kind of why, like, Julie is kind of getting a little bit of redemption arc. Sydney doesn't have that right now. And that's why I do almost give the edge to the beauties more than Sydney. And even Aubrey.
I still think Michelle is, like, the front runner to win this game. And it's not just because she's your winner pick or I went from, like, Liz and Anna to Michelle, like, just the three most attractive females on the show, which it's just a coincidence, honestly. I mean, you look at Anna, poker player on the beauty tribe, I thought she had a chance, honestly. And I think Michelle, from her edit, she honestly has a really good chance to win this game. So it just kind of works out that way. It's just a coincidence, I swear.
Yeah. Do you want to let's do some of the interviews. Oh my God. Let's do some of the comments from last week because there were a lot that we didn't get to.
Sure, let's get to them now. I don't know where we started.
Hang on. All I know is Scott ended up being MVP. Joe was LVP. That was voted on. We start on Luke Scott. Thanks for another great episode, guys. Moving is a nightmare. Really appreciate Will's dedication to still making a show happen. You know, that
if you think that
we try
was
to make everybody happy. We've had
if you
laptops stolen.
if you think that was dedication last week, I mean, this is on a new level.
I mean, I did go. There was a time when like I went and bought a laptop just like the day of, so I could do it. So like we both had our fair share of dedication.
Yeah, I'll give you that.
Yours
Sorry.
are all piling up at one time, man.
I should have mentioned that because I'm not giving you any credit here. Phil's dedication is unparalleled. No. It is crazy. He is so dedicated.
I podcasted on my birthday.
Wow, I tried to. Okay, so we have Johnny Talks Sports. Something tells me that Nick will go on an immunity run. He could, but I still think he's like it's going to be him or like Debbie or Joe for the merge boot, pretty much.
Yeah, I kind of agree with that. I think Nick is just like the favorite for it because his edit picked up out of nowhere.
Right.
You know, like 1 week, it picked up out of nowhere, and it's almost like they had to give him something if he's going to be the merge boot. And really didn't have a storyline before this. Like if they weren't setting him up to win, there was really no storyline for him to have before this.
Right. We have Johnny Talk Sports again. There's at least one more medevac. Rewatch the season trailer again. I actually haven't done that, so I'll trust Johnny Talk Sports here. We are getting another back.
Definitely one more.
Another one confirmed. I hope it is the merge episode, and I know we want to get a big merge boot with a merge vote. I think that's possible that we can get both, kind of like we did in episode 4 with the Caleb and Alicia. Because I want to stop thinking about it. I want to stop worrying about it. It's just hanging over our heads, and we know it's likely going to be someone we like. Because I like the cast that's left. Like Peter is gone. Jenny, I wasn't really a big Jenny fan. You know, I'm really comfortable with this boot order right now. Of course, Liz and Anna I liked, but we have a super likable cast. It's going to be sad if any of them goes.
And what I was going to say, what I want to say here is one of the best ever merge episodes is the Tocantins merge, and that ended with Joe just being medevac. But if you go back and rewatch the episode, the amount of times alliances are shifting, and that is absolutely insane. And it all just ends with Joe going home, and then the next week you still have no idea who's with who, and that's when the dragon gets slayed. You know, like it was a 2-episode build-up to a dragon getting slayed. And like that merge episode was so cool.
I remember enjoying it a lot. I've seen it probably twice, but there is that like big letdown. Like, oh my God, that's all we get? Like just Joe being medevac. That's it.
It was pretty much like a 2-week special because it did carry over to the next week for Brendan to go. Like it was a 2-week special, man.
That's true. That's true. We have Gamer Girl 2330, MVP Aubrey for getting Peter out. LVP is it all right if I vote Joe this time? I know you guys didn't like that I voted him last time. He was actually active in last night's episode. I don't know who else to vote for. So he's going for Joe or she's going Joe for LVP. I kind of, maybe, but it kind of seemed like Joe was sticking to his guns and just knew that Aubrey was making the decision. He knew it wasn't him going home. So I think if you know you're safe, that might be okay. I think that's what you ultimately want heading into tribal. And I think that's what Joe did.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I mean, I don't know if Joe was really LVP, but like I think he got 3 votes, which was we don't really get people to vote for LVP that much. Sydney and Jason each got 2, but then like I think Joe just got.
So wait,
3.
so Joe won? So Joe is LVP?
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
Interesting. I wasn't aware of that. Okay. Well, there you go. We gotta go with the people.
Yeah.
All right, we have Gamer Girl 2330. What happened to the tree mail rhyming? When did they get rid of that? Is it because tree mail is hardly ever read anymore? Did tree mail not rhyme? I think they probably still make it rhyme at some points, but it is true. We are seeing less and less of it.
Yeah, I think that was popular like for like the first like 10, 15 seasons, and then it kind of went away. I think it was like around China that it went away.
No, they've been doing.
I don't know. They still try to make it witty.
I think they're always like pretty fun and rhyming. I'm a huge fan though. Count me in for as much rhyming as possible.
Oh, I don't know why you yelled at me there. I'm still confused as to what you disagreed with me on. I think we just agreed. But
I'm a big fan of rhyming. What do you want me to say?
Yeah, no, I think that we were agreeing on this though. And
I didn't yell.
Just like no.
In the position I am right now, trust me, I can't yell. I can't yell. I'll give up my position.
I know.
And that's not an option.
He's hiding. I hear like the Humvees going by behind you. I'm nervous for you.
Gamer Girl 2330 again. We have seen a cross out before. Happened all the way back in Borneo. Someone voted for Jarvis but changed it to Sue. Also happened in Glover Swatter and Brad Culpepper. What?
No,
okay,
nothing about it. So we'll get to it.
You can just read these because you keep interrupting me. You keep cutting me off. I don't know what you're talking about. So how about you go?
There's such a delay, dude. There's such a delay. Such a delay. I don't know why you want to get all pissy at me. There's such a delay. I'll just read Michael Feeney's exactly what I just said, and I didn't know any delay. And I just want to jump to Michael Feeney's comment because it's exactly what I said. Jarvis, man. Jarvis is not his name. It's Jervis. And that's all I said. I threw in that little comment there because you always say Jarvis. Bothers the fans. Bothers me. Sorry there's a 15-minute delay. I won't interrupt you again. You just rattle them off. No awkward pauses, though. Go.
See, the difference between me and you is I can handle the delay. It seems like you can't handle it. So, Jervis. I hate that name, Jervis. It should be Jarvis. Whose name is Jervis? That's such a bad name. Also happened in Glover's Water when Brad Culpepper was voted out at the very first vote where they had to send someone to Redemption Island. I think, yeah, the crossout has happened, but for it to be like the deciding final vote, has it happened that way before?
I have no idea.
See, I don't remember there being like the build up, like if she switched it, if she didn't, because I don't know. I just don't remember that. I think that was like Aubrey's was like the deciding vote. She was the swing. So for her to do it, I think it's a bigger deal. I will have to go back and rewatch those two boots and see exactly what happened there. Gamer Girl 30 again, 2330. My last comment, I promise I don't like commenting too much because I don't want it to be like spam. There needs to be a Phil and Will Survivor Facebook group. Wow. That's I don't know. I think we'd go Instagram first or Snapchat. Facebook, I think it is I don't know. There's too many pages out there.
There's a lot. I mean, I really don't know. I mean, I don't know what our next move would be. That's probably why we haven't made it.
Yeah, I think Twitter's good. I like Twitter. All right, and then she says, yay for John Rocker. Love. He's such an underrated Survivor character and player. It's sad that people can't look past what he did in the past. Okay. We have, I like John Rocker. It's Jeff26, MVP Scott, LVP Joe. Thanks for voting. We always like the votes. Keep them coming. Kaiman TV, about time, ... Peter's arrogance got the best of him. Agreed. Just jump in here at any time, Phil, if you want to, interrupt. We have the
No, this is your podcast. This is all you. You got this.
Right. Because I'm not delayed when I hear myself speaking. Elite Brothers 885. This episode focused so much on people who don't get much talk rather than people who always do. Jason, Sydney, Ty, and Scott. And they focus more on Nick, Aubrey, Joe, Julia, and Michelle. I totally agree. We talked about this last time. But Phil, since I don't want to, give away my position, how about you take this one? You take the rest of this home.
Wait, why are you going to give away your position?
It's a strategical move. It's tactical right now to let you read the comments.
Hang on one sec. I am getting the image, and I'm posting it on our Twitter of everybody at the camp when Jeff is there because we just got another comment about it, and everybody keeps saying that Ty's not there. So I'm posting on our Twitter the picture. Good. Of so now everybody will see it. This is a picture of everyone at camp when Jeff is there.
Very, very nice. I will take a look.
So that everybody knows, you might have to zoom in a little bit, but they're all there. Everybody who keeps thinking that Ty's not there.
Okay, you're going to read these comments? I just handed you a layup.
I'm still putting it. Some of us are doing research. Other ones are complaining that they don't get to read enough comments.
Okay, well, I'll just keep rolling with it then. We have IJane Karabi, Julia for MVP. It was her lad Aubrey that ultimately took out Peter. LVP, a tie between Sydney and Jason. What did they do this episode? I don't think they did anything bad, though. LVP is always tough. Maybe we should take this out next season because it seems to just cause problems and people disagree. It's like if you don't do anything, is that bad? If you make a move that we don't really know if it's bad or good until future episodes, it's just really hard to judge. I do think Julia it's a pretty respectable vote. I think we said in the last podcast that Scott probably initiated that lie, probably his aggressive move, although Julia is the one that executed it, so kudos to her. So yeah.
Yeah, and that's kind of like another thing. I forget who said it, but they were like, "Am I the only one who thinks Julia is the winner right now?" I feel like it would have drawn so much more attention to that if she was the winner, because that really did seem like it was her. It seemed like that could have been her move, and it doesn't seem like they drew any attention to it being her move at all. They kind of left it up in the air as to whose move it was. I feel like if it was Julia's, they would have been like, "Julia did this," and they didn't really give us that.
Yeah, that's a good point. That's very true. But even when you look back at some female winners, people, on Reddit or something will go into detail explaining why it was their move, and they end up winning. So sometimes they don't always get like that benefit of the doubt, even if they do end up winning. So it will be interesting to see. We should keep an eye on Julia, because she's definitely one of those people that could be a contender, but we just haven't seen a lot of. So we'll keep our eyes out. Benjamin LaFleur, no guys. Peter was gunning for Aubrey, so I think MVP should be Julia and LVP should be Joe. We never really saw that Peter was gunning for Aubrey. I don't know why his was in capital, unless he saw something on Twitter. But from what I saw in that episode, it was Peter kind of gunning for Joe. Then he kind of went back and said, "You know what? I got caught. I got to stick with my brains people here." So I think they did make up that lie. But if you know something, Benjamin, I don't know. What do you remember, Phil?
I remember him going for Joe.
Right. So no, I don't know. I didn't hear anything about Peter actually going for Aubrey. I think that was the lie. Benjamin LaFleur then talked about the press photos. We've kind of gotten into that. Here's Mark Burnett in an interview. Last season, we had 3 in-game evacuations, the most ever in a season. It was the humidity cuts, people getting infected, and then trying so hard on challenges. But we tend to show most things. As a producer, you get worried. But Jeff Probst runs the show, and I know if my phone rings at 3 or 4 a.m., it's Jeff, and it's not a good phone call. So there are going to be 2 more medevacs. Wow, that it really is a bummer. I don't know why the in-game is in parentheses. So maybe Liz can count still. I'm not sure. But it looks like something gets infected. So now Joe certainly is looking like that medevac with that finger that we saw. All right, you want to now read these comments now that you got that tweet out?
Yeah, now that I feel better about myself. Viking, Lost, Thrones. Methinks Nick will be the all Debbie's continues to talk about wanting a woman in the game. I fear the merge will be the starting point of the dreaded women's alliance. With Nick voted out and the possibility of Joe or Ty getting medevac, the women all of a sudden have the numbers advantage. Calling it now, Debbie's going to run this game like Kim Spradlin, let the pagonging commence. There's too many idols for a pagonging this time. That's my only thing. And all of the idols are in guys' hands. So I don't see a women's alliance being able to pagong the men out of the game, especially since they're down a number right now. And there's 3 men with idols. I just don't see a women's alliance pagonging men out of the game.
That makes a lot of sense. That kind of makes me excited for a women's alliance to kind of form and then have to combat these idols. That'll be fun to see. I don't want to pagong. I mean, that's what Jeff could be talking about when he said this. He didn't hype this season. So hopefully that is not the case.
Yeah, I mean, the last pagonging was season 30, and it was an interesting one. Even though, a lot of people don't like that season, that was still a fun pagonging. So maybe the editors have figured out how to do pagongings, and maybe we'll get it this season. Anyway, Anderson, Fraser, Neil, and Debbie being similar to Tyler and Carolyn in Worlds Apart. I mean, I could see that.
I don't know, Carolyn,
but Debbie's a bigger character by far.
Yeah, I agree. I don't see. I do understand the Neil Tyler similarity, but they're not. They're still very different. Very different.
Mm-hmm. Philip Nielsen. I think this merge is going to be Brains and Nick versus the rest of Beauties and Bronze. MVP Scott. This could be a surprise, but he puts himself in the perfect position for merge. LVP Aubrey. As much as it was a great blindside, and this is from a huge Peter fan, she got rid of a number on her side, and Joe will be targeted after her. Again, that's not a number on her side. He was never on the brain side. He kept saying he wanted to get rid of the brains. That's not a number on your side.
Right.
I just disagree with that. So I don't mind that as a move. Anthony Beam going into the merge. My favorite players are Michelle and Julia because vengeance for Anna. Woo. Aubrey because she seems to be a player. And Kyle Jason because he's the most entertaining. Ty is likable, but I don't think he's a player. And Debbie's bony body scares me. Interesting. I agree with a lot of that. I mean, Debbie's definitely a player, though.
I am rooting for Kyle here, just because he is so entertaining. I want to see more of him. I don't think he hasn't done anything that villainous yet. He's been to Tribal 3 times, and it hasn't been anything ridiculously crazy. I want to see him really, go to work and do some villain things, real villain things.
Yeah, and the thing is, other than people saying he's lazy, nobody's really saying anything bad about him right now.
Yeah, that's about it. I mean, yeah, we get the bullying thing a little bit, but that's just pretty much from Alicia, who went home.
Yeah. Johnny Talks Sports wanted to clear the air from last week again. Phil and Baylor sitting in a tree. Never mind, I'm not 8. Can't wait for March Madness next year. Texas A&M is going all the way. If they didn't run into Oklahoma, they'd be in the game. In the title game. I guarantee that.
I
they
doubt
also
that
had the luckiest comeback of all time.
Nova is gonna beat Oklahoma. Nova is looking so good. They're looking great.
My thing is, the Syracuse comeback against Virginia was great. That comeback that Northern Iowa A&M, Texas A&M was so lucky they shouldn't have even made it to play Oklahoma. So yeah. Okay, there was a couple more here on this video. Non-Kaoh Rong question, this from Peter Rubenstein. Why is Eric Reichenbach so famous for giving up his immunity idol and going home when nobody ever remembers that Brandon Hance did that also? Because Eric was really likable and the first one to do it. Nobody likes Brandon Hance.
And Brandon, I think, was like knew he was going home in a way and like wanted to go home and said like, this is for my honor and like this is what I want to do. Eric completely got swindled by it. Like it wasn't like they convinced Eric to do it. Wasn't the Brandon Hance one? It was more like his decision to like be a good person or something.
Yeah, he wanted to like prove himself or something.
Yeah, it was his idea. And Eric's like that when they first came up to Eric, he was like, you got to be kidding me. There's no way I do this. And then he was convinced and manipulated, and it was just it's hilarious.
The reason that the Eric one is more memorable too is because every single player involved in that, Eric himself included, was so much better of a player than anybody involved in the South Pacific one. Like they were all just such good players. That was totally done to a good player by 4 better players, as opposed to the South Pacific one where it was done to a shitty player by a bunch of shitty players.
Right.
I don't even think they had anything to do with it. And then the last one, Peter Rubenstein. Why do people keep calling Neil Purple Neil? Is this because he gets medevaced or quits like Purple Kelly? Neil's definitely not going to quit. I don't think he gets medevaced either, though.
I hate this whole, I got to say, and this isn't against Peter Rubenstein. It's the whole kind of Survivor online community. The whole immediately calling someone purple whatever after one episode of not being around. It's like, all right, we get it. Like
Neil's been in so much of this season.
Yeah, it's like we get it. Like purple. I'm done with the word purple. I'm out on it. So spread it across the land. That purple is now. It's now lame. It's now lame to say.
Yes, it's lame. Okay, let me do the boot list update real quick because that's it for comments. I know people were asking about the boot list. Adam Klein 22, XH Sun 29, It's Jeff 96, 30. Alexandra Haas, 31. LJ and Krabby, 34. Angus J, 34. 5 white guys, Joe Pruss, Will Holston, all have 35. And everybody else is kind of either at like 38, 39, or 40. And that's it for that. What do we go to now? Is that it?
I think that's it.
Will?
Yeah, I mean, that's all we got. The question is now is whether I'll be able to, find a place to watch Survivor with no cable. I can't really get the East Coast stream because I'm at work. Maybe I can watch it at work if Wednesday's slow. That would be pretty ridiculous if I could pull that one off, though. I doubt it can happen.
You know what we could do? You could come over and watch it in my apartment, and then we could podcast like next to each other, and it'd be so awkward.
I don't think it'd be awkward. I would face you and just yell at you. I would yell at you the entire time.
And then if there's a lag, then we can just blame it on internet and somebody didn't perfect it because we're sitting like 3 inches from each other.
Oh, I was thinking we just oh, there are lots of cars going by. I was thinking we just like one camera it. Just have one camera and we just be both sitting in the same frame. Because this may have to happen. This isn't like a joke at this point because you just invited me to watch Survivor. I don't have a place to watch it.
I know. And we've never watched Survivor together before. Now, this won't be a live thing because –
we were just talking about it, too.
I don't get home from work at like 8:30. Yeah.
Okay. Well, we'll talk. I'm going to do everything I can to make it happen. Thank you so much for listening. You didn't get to see my pretty face all that much tonight, but you'll get it back soon in good time. So yeah, Phil's not saying anything like usual. So make sure to like the video, put your comments out there, talk to each
I do
other.
have something. We are at 296 Twitter followers. So we should just, like, is hashtagging Survivor Specialist, could that possibly be a thing so that we can get 300? And somebody just, like, start doing that? Like, is that totally just bullcrap to just, like, ask people to do that? We need to hit 300, right? And now we're the Survivor Specialist. Now it's new. That's different. We need people to catch word.
Yeah, we should do that. I don't know. Yeah, people tell people to watch, I guess. That's kind of the overall gist. I'd rather have YouTube subscribers still, because if we get over 1,000, then we could get verified, I think. So that'd be cool to get a little check mark.
It's all
It might be 100,000 or 1,000. It's one of those. I'm not sure yet.
If it's not 1,000, we'll hit 100,000. Don't you worry your little head.
Okay, cool. Sounds good. We'll see you guys later. Thanks for listening.